Elon Musk, that's still in a small church that wasn't well lit, he didn't act like this. He had been unhappy for a long time. It was while he was sitting there that he thought of what a preacher had said. This pastor wasn't popular like the people Musk usually hung out with, but he was known for being very wise, and many people were moved by what he said. Elon needed that advice right now. The preacher walked in when the door opened with a creak. He was an older man with calm eyes and a friendly face. Don't ask him who Musk was. He wasn't interested in the money or the fame, just like all the other people who had come to ask for help before. Musk was a soul looking for peace. He, with a soft voice, the preacher asked Musk, why have you come here, my son? And there was no judgment in his words. There was only understanding. He could tell Musk was stressed, even though he didn't know the specifics. Musk thought about it for a second. It was new for him to talk about his feelings and open up, but something about the preacher made him feel safe and like he could finally tell the truth about what had been bothering him. I feel lost, Musk said in a voice that was almost whispery. Those words came out of his mouth for the first time. I've done so much, built so much, but there's still something missing no matter how much I achieve. It's like there's this emptiness inside me and I don't know how to fill it. The priest just listened and nodded as Musk talked. People who had everything but still felt like they didn't have anything had told him stories like this before. The preacher asked Musk in a soft voice, what do you think is missing? This made Musk think more deeply about his feelings. Musk took another stop as he tried to find the right words. I don't know, he said at last, I've spent my whole life focused on building things, on making the future better, but somewhere along the way, I think I forgot about something bigger. I forgot about God. The pastor took a while to answer. He didn't say anything, so Musk had time to think about what he had said. The room was very quiet, and it seemed like the silence filled the space between them. Musk could feel himself getting more tense. Oh, did this fill the gap that had been there all along? He'd been trying to decide what would happen so much that he had forgotten about the one who knew what would happen. Musk's words hung in the air for a moment, and neither man spoke. The minister stayed still and waited for Musk to speak again. You could feel the stress growing stronger with each second that went by. Musk moved around in his seat, not liking the silence, but not knowing what to say next. He finally spoke again, this time with a little shaking in his voice. I've made mistakes. He said, so many mistakes. I thought that if I could just build enough, create enough, I would be happy. But I hurt people along the way. I ignored the things that mattered most, and now it feels like it's too late. The minister leaned forward, and his eyes were filled with kindness. It's never too late, he said without being harsh. God's forgiveness is always available, no matter how far we've strayed. Musk shook his head because he was having doubts. His voice broke as he asked, but why would God forgive me? I've been selfish. I've put myself above everything else. I've done things I'm not proud of, things I can't take back. The preacher gave a soft smile and his face looked friendly. God's love isn't conditional, Elon. It doesn't depend on how perfect we are. We all fall short, but his grace is there for us if we seek it. What matters is that you're here now, that you're willing to face your mistakes and ask for forgiveness. Musk knew that he had a lump in his throat. That's how he had never thought of it before. He had spent his whole life trying to prove himself and get respect and success. Now, though, he had the thought that maybe he didn't need to earn pardon. It could have been something that was given to him for free if he was willing to take it. Chapter 4, the weight of guilt. As they talked, Musk could feel the weight of his guilt pressing down on him. He remembered all the times he had put work ahead of the people that were most important to him. He remembered the birthdays he had missed, the vows he had broken, and the relationships that had fallen apart because he was too busy with his next big project. Every memory hurt his heart because it made him remember all the things he had given up to be great. I've let so many people down, he said in a sad voice. My family, my friends, they've all suffered because of me. I don't even know if I deserve their forgiveness, let alone God's. The minister reached out and put his hand on Musk's shoulder to comfort him while he was in pain. He said in a soft voice, forgiveness isn't about earning it. It's about recognizing our mistakes and being willing to change. It's about letting go of the past so we can move forward. He, with his eyes closed, Musk's thinking was full of all the people he had hurt. Could he really get away with everything he did? Could he ever fix things? Musk slowly opened his eyes. He still had a lot of questions in his head. The weight of his past made it hard for him to believe the preacher. It didn't seem possible that asking for forgiveness could erase all the mistakes made over the years. Some people he hurt were his family, his children, and the people who worked hard for him. Would having one talk really make a difference? Musk said, I don't know how to move forward, but it was hard to hear him. I've spent so long running after success that I've forgotten what it means to truly care about the things that matter most. How do I ask for forgiveness when I don't even know how to forgive myself? The preacher smiled softly because he could tell Musk's heart was upset. Mike, Forgiveness doesn't start with forgetting the past, he told me. It begins with acknowledging it. The first step is recognizing the harm you've caused not just to others, but to yourself. You need to let go of the guilt that's holding you down. That's the burden you carry. Elon, it's not just about the mistakes you've made, but about the guilt that keeps you trapped in those mistakes. He's agreed, but his heart was heavy because what the preacher said was true. He had felt guilty all the time for years. It was there with him through all of his victories, telling him that he wasn't good enough and that he hadn't done enough. He could only feel guilt at this point. I don't know how to let it go, Musk said in a low voice. He leaned back in his chair and looked serious but soft in the eyes. You start by understanding that forgiveness doesn't erase the past. It doesn't mean forgetting what you've done. It means accepting that you are more than your mistakes. God's forgiveness allows you to start again, to rebuild, to become the person you're meant to be. Musk felt hope for the first time in a long time. It might not have been too late to change after all. He had always thought that the only way to show how valuable he was by what he had done and what he could build. He knew that real worth came from something much deeper as he sat in the small, humble church. I've been running for so long, Musk said, chasing success, chasing validation. But no matter how far I run, no matter how much I accomplish, it's never enough. I keep thinking that the next big thing will finally make me feel fulfilled, but it never does. The pastor nodded, knowing what Musk was talking about. The world tells us that success is the answer to everything, he added, but success without purpose leaves us empty. Real fulfillment comes from knowing that we are part of something greater, something beyond ourselves. He just gave that some thought. Making the world a better place and leaving a memory that would last longer than him had always been important to him. But somewhere along the way, he lost sight of what that good go really meant. He was so focused on the result that he forgot to ask himself why he was doing it in the first place. Musk asked, what if it's too late for me? His voice was full of doubt. What if I've strayed too far to ever find my way back? The priest shook his head. He looked firm but friendly. It's never too late, Elon. God doesn't measure us by our past mistakes. He measures us by our willingness to seek redemption, to change, and to live in his light. Musk had a lump in his throat as he heard what the priest said. Is it really that easy? Could he be saved by something as easy as faith instead of all the things he had done? Still, he knew deep down that this was what he had been looking for the whole time. The thought almost seemed too good to be true. Musk took a big breath because he knew how important the moment was. He knew what he had to do, but it was hard for him to say it. For so long, he had built walls around himself to keep the pain of his mistakes from getting into his heart. It was hard for him to take those walls down. I don't know how to ask for forgiveness, Musk said, and his voice started to shake a little. I've spent my whole life trying to be strong, trying to show the world that I don't need anyone's help, but now I realize that I can't do this alone. I need God's forgiveness. I need his guidance. The preacher smiled and his eyes were full of kindness. You don't have to be perfect, Elon. None of us are. God's love is unconditional. All you have to do is open your heart and ask for his forgiveness. It's not about the words you use, it's about the sincerity of your heart. Musk smiled and nodded. He felt calm and at ease. Being open and honest about not knowing everything was the first time in years that he had let himself be weak. He bowed his head in prayer, closed his eyes, and whispered the words that had been on his mind for a long time. He said in a soft voice, God, I'm sorry. I've made so many mistakes. I've hurt people. I've lost of what really matters. But I want to change. I want to be a better person. Please forgive me. Musk felt a wave of feeling hit him as the words left his mouth. He let himself cry for a moment as tears filled his eyes. He wasn't used to having that kind of breakdown. Not because he was angry or tired, but because he wanted to let go of the guilt and shame that had been holding him back for so long. When he finally opened his eyes, the minister was smiling at him in a soft way. He told them, you've taken the first step. Now it's up to you to keep moving forward, to continue seeking God's guidance and living with purpose. Musk agreed, and he felt clear in a way he hadn't in years. It had been a long time since he had thought about the next big project or success. There was something much more important on his mind, his soul. He felt calm for the first time. After Elon Musk's emotional talk with the minister, those days were some of the most important in his life because he was always focused on the future and had a strong drive to succeed. He had been known for years. But now, for the first time, he was taking his time and thinking about his life and the decisions he had made. Things that used to seem the most important, like the world of growth and new ideas, now look different. Elon couldn't help but think about the time he had asked for forgiveness while he was working late one night in his study. In that small church, he felt raw feeling and let go of a load he had been carrying for a long time. That opened his heart in a way he never thought possible. As he looked up at the stars, he thought about what the next part of his life would be like. He had always thought that technology could make the world a better place, and that view stayed the same in many ways. But something had changed in him. He no longer thought that success showed how valuable he was, and he didn't feel the need to prove himself to everyone all the time. He instead had a quiet sense of purpose and a strong desire to live his life in line with the greater values he had rediscovered. Musk started to make small changes as the days went by. More time was spent with his kids, and he listened to them and was really present in their lives in a way he hadn't been before. He tried to fix relationships that had been hurt by years of neglect, by getting in touch with old friends and coworkers and saying nice things about them and being there for them. Most importantly, he worked hard to get back in touch with his faith by setting aside time every day to pray and think. In the afternoon, Musk got a call from the minister who had helped him through that important time. Musk was asked to join the pastor at a local charity event where they would be helping to feed people who are hungry. Without a doubt, Musk agreed. Giving back to the community had always been important to him, but this request felt different. It wasn't about giving money or writing a check. It was about being there, being present, and helping other people with his own hands. When Musk walked into the community center on the day of the event, he was struck by how simple everything looked. A lot of volunteers were busy making food and putting up tables. People from all walks of life came together to help those who were less wealthy. There were no cameras or reporters there. Musk felt truly linked to something bigger than himself for the first time in a long time. Musk felt satisfied in a way that no success in the tech world had ever given him as he worked with the pastor to feed needy families. It was the smiles of thanks from the people he helped and the friendliness of the community around him reminded him that real success wasn't about awards or accomplishments. Kindness, sympathy, and how one person could change the lives of others were at the heart of it. Musk learned that forgiving someone wasn't a one-time thing as he went on this new path of faith and healing. The process went on for a while. Every day brought new problems to solve and chances to pick humility and grace over pride and desire. He went downhill at times when his old habits of being driven and competitive came back in. Now, though, he had the tools to face those times with a new sense of purpose. Musk's oldest son asked him a question that caught him off guard one night while he was having dinner with his family. The boy asked, "Why are you different now?" Because he was interested. Musk looked at his son and was surprised by how direct the question was. There was a big difference in his behavior, and he didn't even know it. His kids had noticed, though. "I guess I've learned some important lessons lately," Musk said in a serious tone. "I've realized that life isn't just about what you achieve. It's about how you treat the people around you, how you live with purpose and kindness. I've made mistakes, and I'm trying to be a better person. That's why." His son seemed happy with the answer by nodding. However, Musk felt more obligated to keep going in this direction, and not just for himself, but also for his family. They were watching and learning from what he did, and so he tried to be a good model. Over the next few weeks, Musk started telling his family more about his journey of faith. Not only did he tell them how important it was to forgive God, but also each other. Making prayers together as a family was a simple but powerful act that brought them closer than ever. Even so, Musk felt calm, which was something he hadn't felt in a long time. He was no longer under constant pressure to do well and show his worth. Instead, he had quiet confidence in who he was as a man trying to live his life in line with his faith, not as the CEO of a billion-dollar company. People around Musk became more aware of the changes in his life over time. His coworkers noticed that he was more calm and ready to listen and work with them than he had been before. His family loved the time they spent together and were thankful that they had become closer. Musk himself felt very happy, which was something he had never felt before. As Musk continued to reflect on his journey, he realized that this path of faith and redemption was the most important endeavor of his life. It wasn't about building rockets or colonizing planets. It was about building bridges with those he cared for, repairing the cracks in his own heart, and living a life of purpose guided by something greater than himself. This is the story of Elon Musk Story, not just about success and innovation, but about the power of humility, faith, and forgiveness to transform even the most restless of souls. Thank you for watching this video and for taking the time to join me on this heartfelt journey. If this story inspired you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel Velvet Sovereigns, where we share more stories like this, stories of resilience, redemption, and the extraordinary power of the human spirit. Stay tuned for more fascinating and inspiring tales that are sure to captivate your heart. See you in the next video.